welcome to a very special episode of Achieving Success with Olivia Atkin. I am your host, Olivia Atkin, and today we're celebrating 3 full years of this podcast. But even more, we're honoring the journey that's brought us here and stepping boldly into what's next. To give you some context, I wanted to take you back to July of 2022. That's when my book, Achieving Success in Career Development, was published through Kendall Hunt Publishing. It was a huge milestone, not just because the book was out in the world, but because I was able to write in a way with a team that supported my voice and my vision. And that virtual wrap-up party, someone from the publishing team asked me, "Hey, have you ever thought about having a podcast?" And honestly, I laughed. It was summer. I was working full time at Lockheed Martin. I was prepping to teach at a university. I was pursuing a major ASEM supply chain certification. My schedule was full. And to top it off, I was trying to have a personal life. Like, come on, don't we all want that? So I said no. But the question stuck with me. I kept thinking about the conversations I'd had with students, coworkers, people in sports, people in corporate, people in transition. The honest conversations that rarely make it to the highlight reels, or what I also call the A-list moments on social media. And I thought, what if more people could hear those? What if more people realize their story matters even in progress? On November 1st, 2022, I launched Achieving Success LLC and this podcast, Achieving Success with Olivia Atkin. I didn't know if it would catch on. I just wanted one person to feel seen, one story to resonate, one conversation to matter. And within 30 days, the podcast was streaming in 8 countries. Emails started rolling in, DMs, invitations for guest lectures, people asking for advice, asking how to share their stories, asking for help with their own podcast. And that's when I realized this is bigger than me. By the end of March, I stepped away from Lockheed Martin and I went all in on this work right here. Several months after going full-time in my business, I met an amazing man who would later become my boyfriend, a chief in the U.S. Coast Guard. We met in September of 2023, almost a year after the podcast had launched, and his world, his service, brought a very new perspective to mine. Because when you're with someone who serves, you learn fast. Everything can change in an instant. One call, underway, or deployment, and the plan shifts. There's no controlling it. You learn to adapt, to stay grounded inside the uncertainty. When we found out we'd be stationed in Juneau, Alaska, I knew it wasn't just going to be a move. It would be a lifestyle transformation. I wasn't going to pause my business. It was and still is my baby, but I knew I had to prepare. I closed loops, kept up with client work, handled logistics, medical appointments, family time, all while keeping the business steady. And on the road trip to Alaska, it hit me. This move was going to reshape my definition of success. And I welcomed it. Life in Juneau shifted everything. The time zone, the pace, the quiet, the vastness of nature. And I started asking new questions. How do I want to feel in my business? How do I want to serve without burning out? What do I want my clients? What do they truly need? And how can I build that for them? I refined my offers. I said no to clients who weren't aligned. I stopped chasing opportunities out of obligation, and I created services that met people where they are. Personally, I leaned into joy. I hiked. I walked on glaciers. I made friends in a brand new place. I let stillness and adventure both shape me. Even on something as simple as a Disney trip, I saw the change. I didn't carry the same stress. I approached things differently. People noticed and said, "You've changed." And they were right. I'd grown. And that's the version of me stepping into year 4 of this podcast, because this isn't about just success anymore. It's about becoming. So, what does that look like? This year, the podcast is evolving. Not a huge change, but an intentional one. Here's what you can expect. Week 1 of every month, we'll have celebrities or pro athletes, the big names with big stories told with honesty and depth. Week 2, every week 2, we'll bring on individuals sharing personal stories of pivots, growth, and reinvention. Week 3, solo episodes with me, where I dive into podcasting, entrepreneurship, leadership, and life lessons. Week 4 will be our female feature, spotlighting women who are leading, innovating, and breaking ground. And what happens on a 5-week month? Week 4 will feature a past guest returning, where they are now, how they've grown, what's next for them. And week 5 will still remain the female feature. This structure keeps us consistent, aligned, and ready to serve you even better. If I could go back to the version of me in July of 2022, or even Olivia on the road trip to Alaska, I'd say thank you for trusting your voice. Thank you for showing up even when it's messy. Thank you for not shrinking just because change came knocking. And if you're listening right now in the middle of change, redefining success, pivoting careers, navigating life transitions, I want you to hear this. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're not lost. You're just becoming. So here's how we move forward together. Leave a review on Apple or Spotify and share what story has inspired you most or what you want to hear next. Connect with me directly. DM me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me. Tell me what transition you're navigating, and maybe I'll feature it on a future episode. Share this episode with someone who needs the reminder that growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's slow, but it's always powerful. And explore my resources. If you're ready to start or grow your podcast or get on podcasts as a guest like mine, I've created offers that meet you right where you are. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for believing in your own success. And thank you for walking with me into a year 4 of achieving success with Olivia Atkin. Let's make it unforgettable.